Hi, my name is Tonya Williams, and I'm the founder and executive and artistic director of Reelworld Film Festival, which is based in Toronto, Canada. Well, how long do we have? When someone asks me what it was the reason, what was the impetus behind creating Reelworld Film Festival, it's hard for me not to go literally back to my childhood. I remember as a little girl how embarrassed I would sometimes feel. I went to schools where I was usually the only black person in the school, and every time there would be like a Tarzan series or an American, because I lived in England, when there was a movie from the States, there were always the servants and shuffling, and they were being made fun of, or they were, you know, running around in little grass skirt things with spears, and I found it embarrassing. I wasn't embarrassed about the people out on the street, because I actually lived in an environment where I saw a lot of prominent people of color. I just didn't see it on the screens, and so I'd get teased at school about images they saw on the screens. But I remember in 1968 when I saw a show, I'm 10 years old now, it was called Julia.
Out here tomorrow morning, I'd like to get a look at you.
Yes, doctor. What time would be convenient?
Be here at 9. And make yourself as handsome as you can manage. I'm tired of looking at ugly nurses. I married one.
I'll do my best, sir. But has Mr. Colton told you?
Tell me what?
I'm colored.
What color are you?
I'm a Negro.
You always been a Negro, or you're just trying to be fashionable? 9 o'clock. Try and be pretty.
And it was Diane Carroll, and I was blown away. I had never seen anyone of color, of any color, you know, on the screen, reflected with such grace and elegance and intelligence, and I just remember the impact it made. Not an impact where I thought, oh, one day I want to be in the industry. Just the power of image and the power that screens have. And when I say screens, I mean movie theaters or your phone or your television set. These are powerful tools. So that always made an impact on me. And as I got older, classical music was where my passion was. I played, you know, piano and violin, and I thought that was the direction I was going, but a casting director had seen me somewhere with my mother and asked if they could have me audition for a commercial. So I now, 77, I'm actually starting to be in the industry, but I'm not taking it really that seriously. I'm in high school. It's kind of fun. I don't even think that this is something people actually do as a career. You know, it never crossed my mind. And then after high school, I took a year off, and I think during that year I realized the potential of what could happen in the industry and the social change you can make, the characters that you can choose to do, and the stories you can, you know, be a part of that can really create, you know, there was a whole movement happening, especially in Canada, with a lot of immigrants that were here and a lot of people that were here a long time. I think they were demanding, from the whole civil rights that was coming up from the States, I think there were a lot of people in Toronto now demanding to be seen, to be heard, to have participate. But as I finished, I went to the drama school at Ryerson. Once again, I was the only black person in my entire year at drama. But when I finished that and I started working, I remember someone saying to me, "You're so lucky you get every job," which was frightening to me because I was barely like working, but I realized if I'm booking every single thing and I have like very little opportunity here, it's time for me to think about crossing the border. And that's when I went down to the US, and I found good success for myself in Los Angeles. But the thing that always was painful to me was coming back to Toronto and hearing young people come to me, not asking me how they could, get further in the industry or how they could tell their stories. They only wanted to know how they could get to the US. And that really troubled me because we had an incredible amount of talent here and all of it was draining out of the country. And that's when the idea finally came to me. So you see, when you ask me that simple question, how did it come around? I have to give you the whole history so that you understand. But Reelworld was born out of that. And in 1998 was when I first had the inkling of this idea and started to talk to some other people who had done film festivals. At the time, there were probably about 25 film festivals in Toronto. Cut to, we had the first festival in 2001, but I had very specific a dream and a vision of what I wanted Reelworld to be. I'd always wanted Reelworld to be about helping Canadian talent, and not just any Canadian talent, but BIPOC talent, Black, Indigenous, people of color. I felt like we all needed to come together to really make the industry strong, that we would need each other, to hold on to each other so we can make the kind of impact that we wanted to make in the country. In the beginning, though, I couldn't find enough content, so programmers would convince me, let's put this international film here or this international film here, but I would always say, if we're going to have an international film, let's make it with a country that we have a co-production treaty with, so at least the filmmakers, the producers, the content creators here might partner with those producers or directors from those other countries. So that's how we slowly then became like 50% Canadian content, but I was always pushing for more. Than it would be like 60, then 70, then 85, then 90, and this was the year that I said to the programmers, I don't want to hear it anymore. From here on out, we're only programming Canadian BIPOC films, and I'm thrilled. This is a new sort of avenue for us, and we feel so committed and dedicated to that because that's our real purpose for being here. And Reelworld is born out of that. And now, 19 years later, I know it's hard to believe because I look like I'm only 18 years old, but 19 years later, we have the festival. It's doing the things that we've always wanted it to do. I'm so proud to be able to look back at the history of Reelworld when I think of the talent that we've helped launch their careers, from the Richie Metas to the Samantha Wan, who's got second gen on CBC. That was through our incubator program. And through Don Wilkinson, an amazing Black director, to the wonderful filmmakers we have at the festival this year. We've had a lot of happy moments and feeling really proud that we've had a small part, because we don't do it. They have the great talent. We've just created a platform and we've opened some doors and we've created some contacts for them, and it's enabled them to move their careers forward. And that's really what a film festival does. It's probably the most fertile ground, a film festival, to meet everyone in the industry, not just other actors and directors and screenwriters. You're meeting cinematographers, you're meeting publicists, you're meeting arts admin people, you're meeting programmers, you're meeting all kinds of distribution. It really is an amazing arena to place yourself. And I say to any filmmaker out there, I mean, I hope Reelworld is where you come, but wherever you are locally, find the film festivals that are in your community. And even if you don't have a film, and even if you don't have an idea for a film, but you just have a love and a passion, go to a film festival. It'll inspire you and it'll ignite something inside of you. I've seen it too many times and I've heard it too many times, so I know that's the way to go. Sometimes people ask me, why do Canadians not always get fully the respect of their talent here in Canada? And why do they sometimes, not until they go to the States, they get that kind of respect from Canadians? And I'll tell you one word. In America, the entertainment industry is a business. It's full stop. Every single person, they don't rely on just the talent of that one person. They build a team around that person, and a huge part of that team is marketing. So the reason the Canadians even hear of that Canadian who went to the States is they are blasting so much marketing, so much millions of dollars of marketing, because to Americans, marketing is where most of your budget goes. It doesn't go, whereas from the Canadian standpoint, marketing is sometimes just an afterthought of something. It is not an afterthought in the States. The marketing is first in the room. Marketing probably reads the script before they've shot it. Marketing is already figuring out where they're going to market this, what countries it's going to be strong in, what the demographic is, how do they reach that demographic, how does the social media play. You can't expect a filmmaker, one filmmaker who has an idea, to come up with all of this. These are professionals and they're really good at what they do. So until we start building that kind of infrastructure here, then you're going to find Canadians will cross the border to try and get that kind of attention so that they can be respected more in Canada. But I say to people who actually say that, we have a lot now, people of color who want to be filmmakers, they want to be actors, they want to be, some of them, cinematographers and producers. But here's what I'm not hearing. Where are the BIPOC people who want to be distributors? We need distribution companies. Why are they not managers of talent? Why are they not agents? Why don't you do a little research? Call up the agents, literary agents who handle all the writers, agents who handle directors, agents who handle actors. Ask them how many BIPOC agents are in their agencies. Almost none. Try and think about the casting directors that are out there. How many BIPOC casting directors are there? Almost none. So infrastructure is what we have to be thinking about. I think that people sit back and they go, Drake, he was a good singer. Why isn't he as famous here? It's not that his singing was any better. It's that an entire infrastructure was in place for him in the U.S. that does not exist here. So until we pull up our own, socks and understand that it's all on us, a Canadian audience, they're never the problem. They're sitting at home, they're tired. They're flipping through channels, they don't know what they want to watch yet. You know what they're watching? Whatever has been beaten into their heads. They don't even know why they're going to the Cineplex to watch a movie. They've just heard it. The commercial's been playing, the paper's got the full page spread, the bus stops and the streetcar stops they're waiting at has the ad right there. It's brainwashing 101, and so we need to get better at that. I'm a big believer in brainwashing in the entertainment industry because it's the industry that tells the audience what they should be interested in. And so we need to not expect them to find us. It's hard to find. I think one of the questions you asked some of the filmmakers at Reelworld is, where does your film go after this? That's not even a question you should be asking them. It's not their job to know where the film goes next. They need distributors and managers and other people that take their film and monetize that and get that marketed and get that out to the rest. So yeah, I don't blame the filmmakers, I don't blame the audience, but there's a lot of work still to be done in Canada about taking this industry very seriously. And I'm going to say something that, you didn't bring it in, but because I'm a black person and because a big part of my community is, my parents are both Jamaican, there's also a stigma in the Caribbean islands about the entertainment industry. It's kind of considered like a lowly thing, and they really discourage their children and their young people from getting involved in it. I was recently talking at an event. It was First Fridays. Some of you might know First Fridays. It's a great join up. It was held at the BBPA. Join up, be a member of the BBPA. And I love it. This was not the month they wanted me to speak, but because They said this was their month about economic development. Now listen to what they're saying. They didn't think the film festival should speak at their economic development night. So what they did is they had all these amazing speakers of economic development speaking, and they left me for last, and they actually introduced me this way. They said, now that we've gotten the economic development part out of the way, we're going to bring up Tonya to talk about Reelworld Film Festival. And I use that as an opportunity to let them know it's an education. If you don't think the film industry is economic development, where have you been? Every one of those television stations, all the platforms of Netflix and Amazon and Prime, do you think they're not making any money? This is the biggest economic development. So around the room, I said, you're a realtor and you're a lawyer and you're working in politics. Nothing happens without media. None of your law, you use the media to get clients. You're a realtor, you use the media to sell product. This is what the entertainment industry is. It is every bit of media, everything you see on the screen. It is the largest economic development. Toronto didn't build a few years ago a $20 million studio because they thought this was not an economic development thing that they were doing. So I would really encourage, especially Caribbean people, and a lot of people that are watching this could be from that community, look at your children not in terms of a foolish fool thing that is about the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry has lawyers, they have location managers, they have hairdressers, they have electricians, they have carpenters, they have union jobs, good jobs that a lot of people of color are not having access to because they're not thinking about it, they're not trained in it, they're not exposing their children to the possibility. And if you're going to be a dress designer, you could be a wardrobe person also on a film or on a television show. What about being a casting director? These are not frivolous jobs. These are serious, competitive, well-paying jobs that our communities are not being a part of. And I'd like you to be a part of it. The kind of films you should expect at Reelworld Film Festival are the best films. We have films from your Canadian talent. You want to see more Canadian films made in Canada? Then support the talent that's out there now. Don't blame anyone when you don't see more films that are Canadian. You get out there. This is a festival that's presenting amazing Canadian films to you, and all you need to do is get your butt there and get in the seat and watch these films and support them. And if you have criticisms or ideas, then most of these filmmakers, you can see that they've got all kinds of social media, they've got websites, they're giving you their information. Shoot them a line, tell them what you thought. And here's another thing, say something positive. Because we don't always say enough positive things in our community, and we need that. You all know, especially in BIPOC communities, we're beaten down every single day. Another BIPOC person coming up to another BIPOC person and saying something positive, even if I see a movie or TV show I don't like, I love to say, I totally admire the fact that you got this done, because it's not easy getting a movie done. Even a bad movie takes a lot of energy. So support your talent out there, because I say, people don't just wake up talented. What we do is a craft. And every time you do, whether it's making a movie or doing an acting job or writing a screenplay, every time you do something, you're like whittling. Think of a whittler. If you give a kid or anybody a little knife and a piece of stick, I'm not sure they'll whittle something brilliant the first time. But if you keep giving them a stick, I bet you in 6 months they'll be whittling something beautiful. And that's what we need to keep doing. Let's keep giving our talent another piece of stick. Because we know you may not hit it out of the park the first time, but keep working at it. You will. You will succeed. There's a lot of, sometimes people aren't thinking about the entertainment industry in the way that I'd like them to sometimes think about it. A lot of filmmakers will say this. The most important thing about in the career of a filmmaker is to try and get more money. That's what they focus on. They think it's the money, but I don't think it's about the money. Because here's what I do know. There's a lot of money on the planet. Nobody doubts that. There's a lot of wealthy people out there. If you're talented and you have a great idea, you could stand in the middle of the desert and people are going to find you. So don't worry. Don't spend so much of your time thinking about how am I going to get money for this. Just keep thinking, how can I make my story better? Because someone will find a great story. I've seen it too many times, and I know that it's true. I've seen people just work on one screenplay for 5 years, perfecting it and changing it and getting ideas. But when they know it's right, every studio wants that screenplay. Nobody writes a screenplay the first time and goes, why is nobody buying this? It's just a fantasy. It's not the way it works. Nobody just runs out and makes a film on their camera and then distribution isn't happening. It's a process. Young people, this is what I want to say. Be patient. This is not a sprint. This is a long walk. I've been in the industry 45 years. It could take you 45 years. It's not the end goal that you should focus on, is the process. And in the process, you are coming up with ideas, you're crafting your writing, you're developing your eye as a filmmaker, you're making relationships that some will last a week in the business and some will last you for the next 50 years of your life. Take your time. Know what you want to say. You don't always know what you want to say in the very beginning when you're making film. You're just young, you're flitting around. But sometimes out of that, there's a message. We're all here on this earth for a message. And when it resonates with you, that's when your success will find you. When the universe knows you have something to say, it'll give you the platform that you can say it in.
Tonight was a monumental night, not only just for Tyler Perry, but everyone here in Atlanta. Your name is now on a soundstage at Tyler Perry Studios. What does that feel like?
It's crazy. It means so much because there's opportunities that are now open for so many beautiful young girls like yourself. 300 and what?
30 acres. 30 acres.
I mean, it's crazy. And a young Mr. Perry owns it. You know what I'm saying?
You can't deny that Tyler did this for all of us.
This is a historic night in cinema.
What's one lesson that you've learned from Mr. Perry?
I can do anything. No matter who said no, no matter they said, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, he just did it anyway.
We will shine and still we will rise. Thank you, Tyler Perry.
What's the biggest lesson that you've learned from Mr. Perry? The biggest lesson that you incorporate in your own life?
Persistency and prayer.
He has done things that nobody dreamed was possible.
I'm excited to see everybody, but mostly I'm excited for the food.
The whole world knows about Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta. Absolutely. Huge, big studios. He's investing, not just because that's where he's from. He is building, he is the big cheese in Atlanta, and I think it's really fantastic what Tyler Perry has done. It may not be the direction that I would go. It doesn't have to be the direction you would go, by the way. You can admire from where he came. This is his dream. This is what he wanted to do, and he manifested it. And you're talking about a guy who says he was living out of the back of his car. He was homeless for a while. So when you finally have that thing that people want to hear, he didn't have to worry about where the money was coming from after that. The money flowed because he found it. That's what you need to focus on. What are you saying? Maybe what you're saying isn't what people want to hear. Maybe you're ahead of your time. Maybe you're behind your time. Keep finessing what it is you want to say, because eventually people will go, well, what was that? Well, that guy said something and it was really resonated. She said something. What just happened there? And they'll feel it. It's like a tingle. And then the money will come pouring. That's what happened with Drake. I'm assuming. Only someone who does not like film or television would ever ask a question, what is your top 3 films of all time? I would ask that person, how many films did you watch this week? Because I watched about 14 films this week alone. I watched an Icelandic series on Saturday. I watched so much content, it would be impossible for me to give you my top 3 of last week. But the people who ask me that, I figure they could probably add all the feature films they have ever seen on 2 hands in their lives, which is why they can come up with 3. You can't come up with 3. Do you want me to give you my top 3 in political dramas? Do you want me to give you my top 3 in comedy? Do you want to give me a top 3 of international films or Canadian against US films? What top 3? Do you want them with big stars? Do you want them low budget? What top 3 films are you talking about? You shouldn't even think that way. This is not like Vegas, you know, where we throw down. You're just watching stuff. You're taking it all in. I think any single film that's made is brilliant. Just making a film, just the process of getting a film out there made, it's really hard. For those of you who are sitting at home and watching this, it is not easy to make any film, or a TV show is even harder to make a TV series, because they have to churn out an hour episode every week. So be a little kind when you're judging it. It's a difficult process. But now, I have no idea what my favorite. Here's some of my favorite top series right now on Netflix. Unbelievable, fantastic. Trapped, which is an Icelandic drama, watching season 2. Peaky Blinders is back for you out there. Season 5 is happening right now. I'm just watching the end of season 5. Line of Duty, a British police story, love it. London Spy, limited series, that was amazing. I could sit here for days and list for you the movies and the television shows I love. I watch Danish dramas, I watch Polish. The first Polish drama was on Netflix just a few months ago. Ultravioleta, watch that. It was pretty good. A lot of techno stuff for people who like techno. I watch all the Icelandic stuff. I watched all the stuff from Norway. Don't forget Norway, Occupied, season 2 or 3's coming up soon. Very great series. So I could sit here, we haven't even started with the UK dramas or the UK movies. Don't get me going. So good. Australian, love it. I think I'm watching now what's it called? It's kind of a remake. They've done it in a few different countries, but people come out of a grave and they're from different times. Kind of the undead, it's not a scary thing. It's just that people literally come out of their graves and they've been dead for hundreds of years and they don't know where they are. It's a great Australian series doing great work in Australia. I love them. So right now, I remember when I was young, there was one television channel. You know, you watch that one channel. Then I was so excited when there was 2 and then 3. Now we have hundreds, not only of TV channels, but we have all these platforms. We've got Netflix, you've got Hulu, you've got Prime, you've got, I don't even know. There's so many of them. So on one hand, yes, it has made it more accessible. But on another hand, it doesn't mean that anyone's watching. There's so much content to consume. It doesn't mean that you've got it's almost like an overkill. There's just so many platforms that a lot of shows come and go and die and no one's ever heard of them. So you can't just assume because you got on a platform that actually means it's launching a career for you, because every one of those platforms is just trying to get more eyes on their network, and if your show's not doing well, they're gonna bump it and get something else. So it's more competitive, I would say. Even when there was only 1 or 2 channels, I don't know if it was easier or less easier, but it's definitely more. You're competing. Just look at the countries that I mentioned before. You're not just competing with the people in your country. You're competing with the world for those platforms. So you got to muscle out Australia and Poland and Denmark and Iceland and all the African countries to try and get your show on all of India and China, by the way, 1 billion people in each of those. So you got to muscle all that to try and get eyes on your show. It's not easy. But you know what makes it easy? Infrastructure and marketing and distribution. That's why those things are so important. So we really want people to come out to Reelworld Film Festival. It is coming up October 17th to the 21st. And how you can get all the information is go to the website reelworld.ca, R-E-E-L, reelworld.ca. All the movies are there. Buy your tickets online there. There isn't any single thing that you could want to ask me that's not on the website. So go there. You can read about all the movies. You can read about the directors. You can read the synopsis. You can find out who's going to be in the movies. But come on out and support, because those filmmakers really need to see you. Oh, one more thing. And anyone out there that is interested in wanting to know more about distribution or a casting director or being a manager or being an agent, I want you to email contact@reelworld.ca. We want to know who out there has this interest. Here's who I'm not going to take seriously. Anyone that emails me and says you're interested in all of them. These are all very separate things. Go online and research what a casting director is, what an agent is, what a manager is, and what a distributor is. I'll take you more seriously if you choose one of them. Thanks.